Please rewind this cassette.
I don't know what happened to the Duffer Brothers. I don't know if they were one-hit wonders or they've been hacks from the beginning. Stranger Things 3 is, in many ways, better than Season 2. It's tighter and more fun. But I just don't care anymore. You know, back when Season 2 was on, I still cared, so I think it stung more. Watching this season, I just kind of let myself go with it, and I didn't really, I didn't care about the characters or the story or the Upside Down anymore. I loved the first season of Stranger Things, which I did a review of years ago on this channel. The second season, I found to be very disappointing despite some good aspects. Once again, I just picture the Duffer Brothers sitting in a room together, shitting ideas back and forth, and then going, Duffer, 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 Duffer. Hey, let's have a Terminator in this season. Duffer, 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 Duffer. Sean Astin, Duffer, 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 Duffer. That's how their mind works. Because I think of them as one collective mind. I will say, they do nostalgia, they do pastiche, they do taking images from other movies and stuff better than anyone. Even this season, the stuff they take from Fast Times at Richmond High, especially with Steve Harrington being Brad Hamilton, the stuff that they take from Invasions of the Body Snatchers or The Fog or any number of horror films or novels, they do a beautiful job. I love their lighting. I love the color. I love their reds. I love their yellows. I love the look of this show is still exceptional. The set of this mall in this season is incredible. It's a achievement in set design. This mall looks fucking amazing. It looks perfect. There's an orange Julius in it. Thank Christ. Love the mall set. Really, set design, costume design, cinematography, all of that has been great, and the Duffers kill at that. Like, as storyboard artists or as set designers or just in general, that they're great at that, and I still think they should work in that capacity. As writers, I think they've completely failed at expanding the mythology of this universe. I don't think that the mysteries or the intrigue has gotten deeper. I think they've lost their characters a little bit. And I think that instead of focusing on something more simple that would be effective, because they really had a hook with that first season with Will Byers going missing and them looking for their friend. As Will's come back into the story more and more, we've lost that hook. Let me talk about some good things. There's a great scene where, God, I can't believe I can't think of his name right now. But he's telling Will, like, what, did you think we were going to spend the rest of our lives in our basement and not get girlfriends, or we were just always going to be playing games? The series is trying to grow up, and the Duffers are trying to grow up with it. So I like that about it. I like seeing the kids make out, her and Mike. Mike's his name. I like them making out. I like the kids getting older. I like them being teenagers. I like the series being kind of a Wonder Years or my so-called Life for Freaks and Geeks show, even more so than I prefer the supernatural stuff. I guess my biggest issue with this whole season was that I think the season would have worked better if they would have just stuck to the Russian spy thing. Spoilers, by the way. I'm just going to spoil the fuck out of the season. If they would have stuck with that and the kids versus the Russians with Steve Harrington and all that, it's sort of like Red Dawn or a kid spy movie. I thought that was all really fun and the highlight of the season, especially that girl that came in that's Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's daughter, and she's also in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's great. She's like a great actress. Where the fuck did she come from? And she looks just like Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke. She's amazing in this, Robin, and her chemistry with Steve Harrington is great, and I really love that stuff this season. I was enjoying Dustin until he sang the never-ending story with his summer camp girlfriend, which is one of the cringiest fucking things I've ever seen in my entire life, and it goes on for like 2 fucking minutes. What the fuck? Duffer, 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 Duffer. It was... I don't even know what to say in the final episode of the season with that fucking never-ending story part. I know some people are like, oh, this is going to be a meme. This is great. Like, fuck you. But it's cool that the kids are wanting to get laid and hang out with their girlfriends and not play Dungeons and Dragons and get caught up. And it's kind of about the band getting back together. And Dustin has to go off on his own and go on his own journey. And then they have to all team up, and it all ends up in the mall. Also, making Billy like a slasher villain. Big improvement on this character. Billy was much better in this season, and the actor from that whatever the fuck he was doing in season 2. Also, what the hell is with uh, Mike and Nancy's mom being a hoe? I know she kind of flirted with Billy in season 2 at that scene where he comes to the door, which was already weird. But she's gonna go fuck this kid in this season. She's gonna go meet him at a hotel and fuck him, and then she comes downstairs and sees the dad holding the youngest sibling, and she's like, "Oh, I can't go fuck this guy now." Did this have any point? This was so pointless. It's weird, it's creepy. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not acting like older women don't sleep with younger guys or vice versa. It's just weird. And the fact that it gets wrapped up so quickly. Basically Billy gets possessed by the mind flare, and then he starts invasions of the body snatching people. So he starts like taking people to a monster, which then assimilates them, which it's been doing with rats, and you see these rats explode. So that's the gist of this season. What could have been really horrifying was that if you didn't know, sort of like The Thing, what characters were the monster and who was who. I thought the show was going to lead up to a point where main characters that we really care about could be the monster. And I was like, holy shit, but they don't do that. It's consistently characters like Billy or characters that have just been introduced this season. For some reason, they didn't want to commit to the premise and really make it horrifying. Like, imagine if all the kids were together and one of the kids, and I mean this, one of the kids was a fucking villain and you didn't know. I don't know why they didn't see the potential in that. They also established that the monster is like consuming the body parts of all these people, that the monster is all these different forms. So wouldn't it have been cool if the monster had morphed and showed their faces and communicated with them? You know what I mean? Like something from an 80s horror film, like really great body horror stuff that you would have seen in Nightmare on Elm Street or a Frank Henenlotter or Stuart Gordon film. That like its stomach morphs and you see the head of a character talking, or you see body parts and stuff like that. But that would just be too cool. Instead, we get a generic monster design. We're still in the J.J. Abrams monster design universe. This thing looks like shit. I mean, I honestly, I'm sick of the Upside Down and I'm sick of the creatures. I really don't. It's so derivative. I've seen it all before. Everything that was fresh and cool about season 1 is completely gone at this point. All of it. All of the stuff with the Upside Down, the monsters, I don't give a shit about. Like, first season, oh, there's this Hawkins lab. They opened a portal up to another dimension. 11 was an experiment. She's Tetsuo. She's Carrie. Season 2, oh, they still have that portal down there. Oh, now Will's possessed by a monster, and now the monsters are coming forward, and we have to stomp them. Season 3, oh no, the Russians are opening the portal back up, and monsters are coming through again, and some remnants of the monster still existed. It's just we're going in fucking circles, man. And Dustin went to summer camp. Why the fuck didn't we get a summer camp season? Could you imagine a whole season of the show where Dustin and all the kids were at a summer camp? Steve Harrington as a camp counselor? Fuck yes. And Nancy and Jonathan as camp counselors and Billy. And then you'd have some of that tension between the characters. Not that I dislike Brad Hamilton, Steve Harrington. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of all of this. That guy's great. No issues with him, no issues with the Robin character. They have some of the best scenes of the whole season. No issues with really any of the interactions with them and Dustin. I did not like Lucas's little sister. I thought that stuff was terrible. I did not like Hopper this season. Hopper's become a cartoon character. He's just a fat, drunk, slobbish asshole, and then they try to do this Magnum PI bullshit. He's a badass again. He's punching people. And then they have a Terminator character that's the Terminator without the charisma of Arnold Schwarzenegger. By the way, didn't The Guest already do this? They kind of did. There's a Funhouse sequence that I was like, this is The Guest. Come on, guys. You know, and by the way, The Guest predates Stranger Things. Just saying. So, also there's a Russian scientist guy that, at the beginning, basically the guy that was his boss gets killed Darth Vader style for failing, and then it's his job. He's wonderful. This actor who plays him is great. He has the saddest death of the season, in my opinion. I think I cared more about him dying than I did Hopper or anything else that happened, just because this actor was so great when he's just drinking Slurpees and stuff. Winona Ryder in this season too, Jesus. Joyce Byers, fuck. Where's Will? We gotta find Will. God damn it, Hopper, the fridge magnets. Her and Hopper, all that stuff. Yeah, hated Hopper this season until the very end. He has this letter at the end that 11 reads that is beautiful and it's cross cutting with and doing time jumps, and he says that he doesn't want things to change. And it's sort of like the Duffer saying they don't want things to change, even though they know things are changing and getting older. And they're not just commenting on the show itself, but on movies and art and stories and how things are changing and how they want to live in this time. It's actually kind of the statement, the ultimate statement about why they even created Stranger Things. So that final letter sequence with Hopper's great. David Harbour's great. I love his performance, especially in the first season. But there's just that nuance is missing. Remember in the first season where he's at that bar with that cop, and he says that his daughter won the spelling bee, but we know that his daughter died, but this guy doesn't know it, and the guy asks his daughter name, and then he looks at him and he goes, Sarah? Her name was Sarah? You see so much in his face and how he says that you know so much about that guy and how much pain he's carrying with him, and how him having to use that to try to get information from this guy about buyers. There used to be stuff like that in every scene of Stranger Things. It used to be so compelling. These characters were multi-layered. The world was multi-layered. It really was Stephen King world building meeting Steven Spielberg spectacle and awe, and a sense of discovery all over the place. And it hinted at cosmic things. It hinted at a mythology like Twin Peaks. Now it's like, okay, there clearly was no mythology, and the show would be better off just to have standalone stories every season, or they fight a different monster or supernatural entity. Why not vampires? Why not a werewolf season that's kind of like Silver Bullet? You can't tell me that wouldn't be fun. Instead, we're sticking with the same creature designs. Even the stinger at the end of the season was the fucking Demogorgon. It's like, really? We're going back to the fucking Demogorgon? Like, I just can't believe it. But 11 leaves with the Byers family. They move out of town. They're going off. So at least the show's leaving Hawkins. Although last time they did that when she went to go meet 9, that didn't work out. So who knows where it's going to end up. I sound like I'm really negative on this season and on the show. I did enjoy season 3. I thought the parts with Back to the Future were great, where they go to see it and they're high. In fact, all that stuff with Steve Harrington being high was great. I did like when the kids started working together again, when they start making plans. Stranger Things in many ways is that it's best when the kids and the adults or the teenagers start figuring out what's going on and coming up with gadgets or using science to solve problems. And once the season kicks into gear with that, once the characters start problem solving and going on adventures and working together, the show picks up momentum. In season 2 had that as well. I do sort of like the road trip that Hopper and Joyce go on with this Russian guy, and they meet the conspiracy theorist from season 2, who's actually much better this season than he was. He actually has a really nice presence in this season, and he brings a lot of levity to it. All of that was fine. All of that was fun. I hated everything with Will. There's a scene that's like Will crying in his fort, like dramatically while it's raining because they're not friends anymore, and he smashes it and they all show up. It's so like overwrought and ridiculous. And there's this whole thing where characters are coming out as gay this season. That seemed random to me. I was like, okay. I mean, it's not that I have a problem with gay characters or anything. It just seemed forced, like out of nowhere. It's like, was it only 2% of the population gay? It seems pretty crazy that there's so many gay people that we know. Also, the fact they've kept the show so small that the same like 10 to 12 people are the only ones aware of what's been going on in Hawkins. You know, you think after a few years everybody would have moved away, or the government just would have shut this town down and kept it on lockdown. Don't you think that would have happened? Not just that it stayed so intimate and insular that it's never expanded in anything bigger. The show feels smaller now than it did in season 1, which is weird. Plus the Nancy Jonathan journalist thing, sexism in the workplace, and they're the ones that start to really crack the mystery. That stuff was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible. It was fun to see Jake Busey, although Carrie Elwes is in this and does a fucking horrible job and gets nothing to do. You know, Matthew Modine in the first season, he really got a good role. They've let these other people down. So yeah, the Russian stuff could have been fun. It did have a fun tone, but unfortunately it's clashing with the Invasion of the Body Snatchers horror movie stuff. And this is the most horror focused season, and this has the most gore out of any season. There's a lot of gore in this. So they clash with each other. It's not like the two different tones are meshing well. Um, the editing choices are weird. There's some really bad, choppy editing. The transitions don't always work. I like the kids getting older. I like the show trying to get older with them. I do. I love the visuals. Once again, the Duffers are terrific at recreating an era and then also modernizing it in some way with the technology we have today. I think they do a phenomenal job with that. And I really like that stuff. Doesn't bother me when they take shots from movies or rip things off. I think they do that so well. I have no issue with any of that. My main issue just comes down to the plotting. I don't think the plot's very good anymore. I don't think it's that compelling. I don't think the dialogue's as good as it used to be. I think they have to really lean on their actors. And when like David Harbour gets shit dialogue all season, he really has to try so hard to do something with Hopper. And then when he gets that sequence with the letter, it's like a highlight because he can bring it when he gets good material. They just don't give him a lot of good material. And it's just weird that these characters all keep getting involved every year. It feels like we should have killed some people off in season 2 or cut some of the fat. I don't think Hopper's actually dead. If he is actually dead, it was kind of an anticlimactic death, to be honest. The girl who plays 11 is amazing. She's becoming a very beautiful young woman, and I think she has a bright future ahead of her. I think she's really great in this season. Although, how many times do I have to see a shot of 11 with her nose bleeding? I mean, they did it 100 times. I get it. And how many times does she have to come in and save somebody last minute before they're about to be killed? I get it. I've seen it before. Like they're honestly ripping themselves off as much as they've ripped off anything else from movies in the 80s. Duffer. Yeah, they're ripping off shots and sequences from like season 1. There's so many moments in the season where 11 shows up last minute with their nose bleeding to save somebody. But then she loses her powers at the end of the season, which is interesting. And it's kind of a Spider-Man 2 thing where they're hinting at that they might come back. But really didn't like Mike this season. Really didn't like Lucas. I don't like the character of Max at all. But I will say they did improve on Billy. Steve Harrington's been consistent now for 3 seasons. Dustin's been pretty consistent except for the never-ending story part, which ended up really being never-ending. That scene felt like forever. And I am excited to see a new environment and hopefully some new elements in season 4. I hope they do some new things. I was excited for the season. A lot of critics said it was better than season 2. I was excited about it taking place during summer, even though last season taking place during Halloween should have been my favorite thing ever. I was pumped for the maturity of it. I mean, all the things, but it was kind of just a mixed bag. The first episode's fun, then it sort of drags a bit, then it picks up again near the end, and then it just makes some big mistakes from a tonal standpoint and a pacing standpoint along the way. It was hard to binge this season. It really was, even though it was only 8 episodes, which was shorter than last year. It was hard for me to binge it. But I still like Stranger Things. It's not like I'm not a hater. I've just been consistently disappointed in the drop in quality from year to year. I thought that this show was going to be like a modern classic, but now I'm realizing it should have just been one season. Or maybe they should just be movies. Really, think about season 2 if that had been a 2.5 hour movie, or this season if it had been a 2 hour movie. It would have been better. It doesn't need to be 8 hours long. It's not like there's character development that's worth the 8 hours. It really isn't. This should have just been tight. Like, Billy's the lifeguard, the monsters start to take over people in the town, and then you have this fast pacing that leads up to the mall at the end, and the mall being this base for the Russians. And then everybody meets at the mall at the end and everything. It could be like a 2 hour and 20-minute long movie. I think this would have been better as that, and I think the Duffers could make good movies. I'm not sure if they're actually built for television or long-form storytelling. I think they have a weakness in that aspect, where if Stranger Things 2 or 3 had just been movies, or, like 2 or 3 episodes each, I think they could have told these stories in 4 hours. They don't need to be full seasons. I just don't think they have the material there. But these could have been fun. I actually think an edited version of this would be a lot more fun. Also, one more thing. At the end of the season, Steve fucking Harrington, who, by the way, looks awfully familiar to my fucking avatar, goes to apply at a family fucking video. And the sign in the back, please rewind. Now, I wrote a script for a movie called Please Rewind that I planned on making, which was a look at working in a video store in the 80s and 90s. And a lot of the humor and writing was kind of based off things like High Fidelity or Alexander Payne's Election. And when I saw this little sequence of Steve Harrington applying at this video store with Robin, and just the dialogue exchange and how it looked, I'm like, holy shit, this is my fucking movie. I got cucked by the Duffs. They cucked me because this is going to come out, and I'll never make my Please Rewind movie. They'll release Stranger Things Season 4 with Steve working at the video store, and the whole gimmick that I had my movie hinging on will be in the fucking 4th season, so everyone's going to think that I ripped off the Duffers and be like, well, you're just doing the Steve Harrington stuff in Season 4 when he worked in the goddamn video store. I mean, I swear, I think that Google is listening to me and stealing my stuff, and the Duffers and everyone in Hollywood are getting it. You know, that's just I'm I'm being a little hyperbolic and jokey here, but I got to tell you how surreal it was that I had written this script and kind of designed it around the character being a Steve Harrington type. I even had in my head that actor playing the role, playing the Pat character in it, and the script is like, yeah, the guy works at the video store. It just that even that dialogue exchange you have, like, name your 3 favorite movies. That's very similar to the script that I wrote. And I'm just like, oh God, are they going to do all of this in 4? So I guess I have to get that movie going. I just can't believe it. It's like, what the fuck? It's just crazy. It's just a crazy, I mean, it's a crazy coincidence is all. It just freaked me out. I was like, oh, of course he's going to work at a video store. Of course it's going to be like the Please Rewind movie. Having said all that, this was a fun season. It was fun to watch over a few nights. I didn't just watch it all in one go. And it's got some funny parts. It's goofy. The tone and everything about it is way more goofy now. The whole thing's a fucking goofy mess. It feels much more like a B movie now than it used to. And if you can take it for what it is, just a goofy, fun diversion to watch of a show that used to have more sophistication, you can really enjoy it in that way. And enjoy these characters and these kids, even if they're not really giving us anything new, and this world itself isn't being fleshed out more, and it just isn't more interesting. It's less interesting, but there's still enough stuff there for it to be entertaining. It's still very well produced. It's still a very well produced show, and because of that, it's still better than most stuff that's on television or on streaming services. So for me, I would give this season I think I gave season 2 like a 7. So it's hard to give this a lesser rating than that. But I think in retrospect, season 2 would be like a 6.5. I'm going to give this I want to give this a 6.5. I really do. Because I do feel like if you take it on its own merits, it's not very good. I will be generous and give Stranger Things 3 a 7 out of 10. Which is me being very generous because it is fun, and I do like these characters, and the stuff with Steve Harrington is so good and so entertaining that at this point, I would rather just have a show that focuses on him and Dustin and this Robin girl and their interactions with other people and their fun than the bullshit that's going on with the multitude of other characters that exist in this show. So that's it, Stranger Things 3. Tell me what you thought in the comments. Did you like this season? Did you think it was as good as the first season or the second season? Maybe this is your favorite season. Who knows? But like I said, I did like the horror elements. I did like the aging of the characters. And there are some really emotional moments and some really tense moments and some good special effects. So it is fun. It's a fun romp. And I do recommend it if you're a fan. Just watch it, enjoy it, and don't take it too seriously. And it'll all go down much easier.
This is Susie. I copy.
Susie!
Dusty Bun?
Turn around. Look at what you see. In her face.
What the fuck? What the fuck?